In Sweden, scientists from the Royal Institute of Technology and biologists from Kolmarden Wildlife Park have identified what might be a dolphin's laughter.
We have found a combination of a whistle and a burst pulse sound that we believe is a giggle,
Off the island of Dominica, an international initiative called Project Ceti used advances in AI to reveal intricate structures within sperm whale communication akin to human language, in what some are calling the sperm whale phonetic alphabet. And in an unprecedented encounter, a research team from the UC Davis and the Alaska Whale Foundation successfully engaged in a 20-minute conversation with a humpback whale. I'm KP, a marine biologist who specializes in marine mammals, including beluga whales, false killer whales, and harbor porpoises. Are humans on the verge of interspecies communication with whales? Or are these stories too good to be true? Before we answer that, first we need to dive into what we know about whale vocalizations. It's important to note that when we talk about whales, we're talking about several unique species, including dolphins and porpoises. All whales, dolphins, and porpoises are classified as whales in the Cetacea order. Within the Cetacea order are two suborders, Ceti and Ceti. These suborders have very different vocalizations and means for producing sound. Ceti are toothed whales, like beluga whales, sperm whales, porpoises, and dolphins, including killer whales, who produce rapid bursts of high-frequency clicks, whistles, and pulses by passing air through a structure in their blowhole called the phonic lips. These sounds are then focused through their melon. Early in my career, I worked at a facility that made a breakthrough discovery in the vocalizations of beluga whales. It's something known as a contact call, and it's used for group cohesion and for mother-calf contact. Particularly exciting was the relationship between the number of distinct contact calls in an encounter and the number of whales present. The researchers found that the number of contact call types never exceeded the number of whales. This was the first evidence that beluga whales may have individual vocal signatures, or, for lack of a better word, names. Contact calls have also been identified in other species of whales, including humpback whales, who are in the Ceti suborder, also known as baleen whales. Unlike toothed whales, baleen whales do not have melons or phonic lips. Instead, they have a larynx and vocal folds. But they don't actually have to exhale in order to produce sound. Rather, they appear to capture air in a laryngeal sac and recycle it through their lungs. While the haunting songs of a humpback whale might be the most famous and enigmatic vocalization, the most common is actually a low whoop, known to be used between mother and calf pairs as a contact call that helps them locate each other. Off the coast of Alaska, scientists played a recording of a contact call into the ocean to see if any whales would respond. And that's actually exactly what happened. A female humpback whale named Twain swam up to the boat and began circling it. For the next 20 minutes, the scientists emitted the same contact call 36 different times at varying intervals. And Twain responded to that call each time, matching the intervals. Meaning if the scientist waited 10 seconds before playing a call back to Twain, she would in turn wait 10 seconds before responding. The researchers argue that this matching of intervals suggests a whale engaging in an intentional exchange. There is an important caveat here. While this interaction has been portrayed in the media as a conversation, that's not 100% accurate and can be a bit misleading. As one linguist put it, this was a single expression whose meaning we don't fully understand, and which may not have meaning the same way that words do, repeated over and over again. Think of it like Freddie Mercury playing to the crowd. All right. Even if these vocalizations have meaning the same way human words do, there are very real obstacles in deciphering those meanings. Many researchers compare listening to a pod of whales to the cacophony of children screaming around a playground. This makes it nearly impossible for researchers to determine critical information, like the context of the vocalization or even which animal is producing which vocalization. That's where some researchers have turned to AI. In Sweden, researchers at the Royal Institute of Technology and Kolmarden Wildlife Park have teamed up with a language analysis company, Gavagai AB. Using an underwater hydrophone, they record dolphin vocalizations and feed them into a language software that can separate the individual pulses, clicks, and whistles and analyze the context in which the sound occurs.
Just being able to communicate at some level with the animals may give us a different perspective, not only on the animals, but also on ourselves.
This is similar to the work that Project Ceti did with sperm whale populations in the Eastern Caribbean. Between 2005 and 2018, Ceti researchers collected almost 9,000 recordings of 400 sperm whales. They fed these recordings into advanced computer algorithms trained to detect patterns in the sounds. Previously, it was believed that sperm whales only made around 21 different types of codas, but the computer algorithm identified 156 distinct codas, each with its own rubato, ornamentation, tempo, and rhythm that could be a phonetic alphabet or building blocks of whale language. But some marine biologists and linguists have pushed back against the way that the study has been characterized in the media, believing the term phonetic alphabet is misleading. It's not a helpful interpretation because it forces everything into a restricted and oversold perspective of, is it like human language or not, when there are a much broader range of interpretations available. This leads me to my personal reservations with some of these studies. I think it's very clear that whales have language systems, and we don't know how compatible their communicative system is with ours. It's very possible that whales have a spoken language, but it's just as possible that their vocals are more like music, which can have a strong influence on emotions without actually conveying any real information. As an associate professor of phonetics at Linköping University told Voice of America Radio, understanding these vocalizations might even require adopting a different concept of language entirely.
We have a smart animal here, we have a pretty smart animal here, and we have our communicative systems. They have theirs, we have ours. And can we actually cross the divide here and talk to each other? To some extent, yes, we can. We already know that, but to what extent can we expand on that?
I also have reservations about machine learning itself. AI and machine learning have a significant environmental impact. For example, training GPT-3 resulted in 552 metric tons of carbon emissions, which is the same as driving a car for 2 million kilometers. This just seems counterproductive when we're using these tools for conservation purposes. It is a very young technology that isn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination. AI systems can learn and implement biases from the data they are trained on, and their development is based on the choices of researchers, making it difficult to create a completely neutral system. They can also be wildly inaccurate, as shown in this viral video of a man asking AI how many R's there are in the word strawberry.
So I asked ChatGPT, how many R's are in strawberry? It said there are 2 R's in strawberry. I counted 3. I can see why you might think that, but strawberry actually has 2 R's. Maybe you were counting the letter R in straw and berry separately.
A couple of weeks ago, I asked Google, how long ago was 1919? And Google AI answered 20 years ago, or in 1939. There's also this study that showed AI can actually hurt radiologists' ability to make a clinical diagnosis. I've linked this study and all of my cited sources down in the descriptions, as always. Ultimately, whale vocalization and communication is a fascinating field of study, and it's one I think has exciting possibilities. I also think there are very real obstacles, limitations, and concerns that we should be honest about. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below.